Hoop Streams back at it, coming to you live on Twitter. Cassidy Hubbarth in NYC. Got Amin in Arizona, Perk in Houston. Guys, today was supposed to be the final day of the regular season, but we don't have basketball back yet. Tonight, we're going to go back in time with our Wednesday night primetime classic starting at 7 Eastern with the Lakers' 2009 finals clinching win against the Magic. Then right after that, Game 7 of the 2010 finals between Perk Celtics and the Lakers. But before we dig deeper into those games, with a special guest, a guy who made one of the biggest shots in that 2010 finals, Metta World Peace, will be joining us later. Let's first get caught up with what's happening at home around the league in our weekly segment that we call Quarantimes. And last weekend we saw the debut. You really still hate that, don't you, Amin? Saw the debut of ESPN's Horse Challenge as some big names competed against each other from their homes. And you can catch the semifinals and finals tomorrow night on ESPN. But winning this tournament may not be the biggest flex happening. Amin, what stood out to you about the home courts on display?
Well, I mean, they're just not created equal. Like, Chauncey's got a full court right there. Mike Conley had a palace going on in there. And then you got Trae Young and Allie Quigley kind of like in these driveways. They're talking about, I got to shoot from the grass now. By the way, Trae Young, that is definitely not 8 feet. That is not 15 feet. That free throw line is like 8 feet. Stop line. You're too good of a shooter to be out here cheating too, especially against an old man like Chauncey.
I mean, Zach LaVine had like a whole amusement park back there as well. So, I mean, Mike Conley, though, that's a major flex, especially as I look at it from my New York City apartment. I wish I could just spend my time out on his basketball court. But Perk, you also had a strong home court advantage back in the day. Let me show you. Maybe you could bring him back.
Wow.
For a game of horse. Why is there an elephant at your house? This isn't currently, but when was this? And tell us the story.
So that was my kids. That was Kingston and Lil' Ken birthday party. And my wife, Vanity, throws big birthday parties for her boys. And so we end up contacting, we had did like the horses and stuff. And so we end up contacting a guy out of Florida that had elephants. And he was like, yeah, we'll drive them down and you can have elephants and, you could ride them and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, all right, well, let's do it. And then he was like, yeah, well, it's going to be for 3 elephants. It's $27,000. And I was like, what? I was like, all right, then whatever. Just come on. I was young in my 20s, living my life on the edge. And so he was getting ready to put the elephants up. And I was like, I need to ride on one of these without the saddle. He was like, go ahead. And he was like, all right, you want to experience something? And I was like, yeah. He was like, I'm going to talk to him. That's the guy right there, by the way. I'm going to talk to her and I'm going to make her go up stand up with you. Hold on tight. And he just had it under control. So that's just like a memory. Like
I don't even know what to say about that, other than I'm glad that guy right there is not Joe Exotic.
Elephant King coming soon.
Yes, Elephant King. What is coming soon? Tomorrow night, 9 Eastern. You got the semifinals and finals of the Horse Challenge. And with that, let's get to our Wednesday night preview of the Primetime Classics, Kobe's last titles.
Artest, that's a three. Bang! By 6 with a minute to play. Never gonna back down. I want it now and I ain't never gonna back down.
And to help us relive those classic moments, we welcome an NBA champion, all-star defensive player of the year, Metta World Peace to the show. First and foremost, thank you for joining us. And how are you dealing with these unusual times?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always an honor. And I saw Perk a couple times. Really happy to see the work he's doing on television. Over this time, I'm not playing no more, so I don't have anything to train for. But it has been hard because I have a couple things I've been working on that requires people to be around each other. And, now that that's not the case, you just want to make the right adjustments. You want to make sure you're practicing social distancing, trying to flatten the curve, all the stuff that we're learning basically from television, because I know nothing about medical, health, pharmaceutical, anything. So I'm doing my best, to follow direction and also to continue to encourage people that's going through a lot right
And that's really much what we can all do is just try to do our best as we all are quarantined in these uncertain times. So we really appreciate you taking the time to join us because we wanted to have you on the show today because ESPN is re-airing the final games from the 2009 and 2010 championships from the Lakers. Of course, you won a title with the 2010 team. But I want to go a little further back. You were on Zach Lowe's podcast last month, and you described how you went to the Lakers finals loss to Perk Celtics in 2008 as a fan, just to experience the finals firsthand. So what can you tell us about that experience and what you learned then?
now. Well, as a basketball player, super competitive, so I always knew like I would get a ring, but my career has been so crazy. So every shot I had to win a title, I would get ejected game 6, get ejected in game 5. I got ejected in the playoffs like 4 different times, at crucial games. So, I wanted to see how is it going to be if I ever make it to the finals. So I went to see Boston play against the Celtics. It was a blowout. It was Boston fans was going crazy. I was just looking at the players, looking at the opponents with the Lakers, because when I faced adversity in the past, I wasn't able to deal with adversity. And if I got to the finals, I don't know how many times I would get there, or even if I would get there. So I wanted to experience the energy. And then I got there in 2010, and I wasn't I didn't have as much anxiety as I probably would have had if I never experienced it before. So that was the whole reason why, going to the game.
Well, there's also there's a story about how you approached Kobe in the locker room after that game. Can you tell us a little bit more about, why you wanted to talk to Kobe after that loss?
Yeah. Well, what happened was I was at the game and Lamar Odom. I've known Lamar since I was 11. When we were the same height. Actually, I was probably a half inch taller than him. So I wanted to support him. I was. He just grew 6 inches one summer. It was crazy. And I wanted to support him. And I love Phil Jackson from the Bulls days. Kobe reminded me so much of Michael Jordan. It's just so many things I like about the Lakers. So I went into the locker room and I said, hey, I said what's up to Lamar. Then I said, I want to say, a good game to Kobe because although we battled, I'm still a fan. So he was in the shower, and then I had to go. And then Phil Jackson was like, Kobe's back there. And then Brian Shaw was like next to the showers in the training room area. And then he said, Kobe's in the shower. So I went into the shower and I just I wasn't practicing social distancing. I just tapped him on the shoulder.
You didn't need to back then. But I mean, maybe in the shower, yes.
He turned around. He just lost by 40 in the finals. He turned around and he was ice grilling me. He took a double take. It's like, what are you doing here? I just wanted to say good game, and you'll get next time. That was it.
Hey, Metal World Peace. Listen, man. The Celtic locker room door was open too. You could have came in. We would have embraced you with open arms. You could have joined the Celtics. You didn't have to join the Lakers at that time.
I wasn't thinking, man.
We had room for you. You would have got 25 to 30 minutes a game playing with us. You could have came over with the season and rocked out with us.
Man, that's a hell of a compliment coming from Perk, man. I never had to play against Perk, so you know this side of Perk. We know the other side. Perk is a monster, enforcer. That's a hell of a compliment. I'll take you up on that next time.
Well, there is legend that you told Kobe you wanted to join the Lakers in that encounter in the shower. Yeah. Is that true?
That part wasn't true. And sometimes I had so many stories out in the media where I always got to fix something. So some stories I just let go.
Well, so now let's fast forward to the 2009 season. The Lakers win the championship, beating Dwight Howard's Magic. Before that, they had to get past you and the Rockets. Do you remember playing against that 2009 Lakers team, and what made you want to join the Lakers after that season?
Well, I remember we had them down. We beat them by 20 game 1. Me, Yao, and Tracy wasn't playing. Dikembe just broke his knee in the first round. And then, so we were playing really well. And earlier in that season, I was only playing 8 minutes a game because T-Mac and Shane was playing. So I was struggling. T-Mac got hurt. I started to play. Then my average went up. I was starting to do my thing. And then we took him to game 7. Yao breaks his foot in game 3. And And that really hurt us because, Yao was just so dominant. And we felt we had a shot that year, to win it. And we still took him to 7. Kyle Lowry was playing, he was an amazing rookie point guard. And everybody was playing team ball. It was a hell of an experience. That group it was a special group. But unfortunately, we had some major injuries that really hurt us with Dikembe breaking his knee, T-Mac out, didn't even play in the playoffs, and then Yao breaking his foot. So we had a shot. And then, my next year, I had a couple of options that I wanted to take, but, teams didn't want Ron Artest. So, I had to go to the Lakers. The Lakers wasn't my first option.
What was your first option?
I wanted to go to Detroit. It was my first Detroit or Indiana. And Joe Dumars was like, we don't think we can have him there. I wanted to go somewhere where I can, just kind of, Detroit is where the big brawl happened. I felt like going there and winning a title there. That's saying something, that would have been special. Then going back to Indiana, winning a title at Indiana, that would have been special. So those was like my first 2 choices. And then both those teams didn't want me. I understandably why, I know why, and I understand why. And then, the Lakers came, but LeBron called me that summer, asked me to join his team. Also, I love LeBron, great guy, but I didn't want to play with any All-Stars. I wanted to play with underdogs, and I wanted to make a name, but the Lakers was the only team that offered me that minimum, so I had to take it.
Wow, so there were no other teams that offered you that year?
Nah, no teams, because I was still transitioning. Because you got to think about it. When I was playing and being a leader on teams, I was detrimental to the team a lot. So that's why when it was time to offer me my bigger contracts, teams was like, nah, we're not going to offer you that much. We're going to offer you the mid-level. And sometimes I got offered $3 million one year in my prime because of my attitude. And my agent was like, Mark Balderstein at the time was like, no. Can we understand why you going to go to 6 but we're not taking 3? So I was hit with those situations a lot. So I understand why, though. When you're detrimental to the team, it's not going to work in your favor.
So you said LeBron asked you to play with him, but you didn't want to play with another All-Star. But you ended up playing with Kobe. So how did you feel about, joining forces with Kobe Bryant?
RIP to Kobe. So it wasn't like I didn't want to play with LeBron because I really respect him. His stepdad was in prison with my older brother. So I respect a lot about, I know exactly where LeBron is from. So it wasn't like I didn't want to play with him, but I felt like LeBron's going to be a star. If you can win against LeBron, if you can win against Kobe, that's saying a lot. And so my goal was to, try to at least be somewhat prideful, and not just join another group. But I had no choice. I had no other options. I didn't, and I didn't want to leave the Rockets. Let's say that first, I didn't want to leave the Rockets. That was the first place I wanted to stay. But, it's hard to sign to Ron Artest at that time.
Yeah. By the way, one of my favorite things about you went to the Lakers. You picked the number 37. They asked you, why'd you pick 37? Do you remember the answer you gave?
Well, I mean, the reason was because, when you're in the NBA in your prime and, they talking about you, you feel a certain way about yourself, right? You start thinking like you're somebody different, right? But so I love to have fun. I was trying to find ways to cope, trying to find ways to have fun during my time in the league. So I wasn't able to stay still or stay put. I always had to be doing something. So, I changed 37. Michael Jackson, his album Thriller went 37 weeks at number 1. I felt like that was something that was great. And I wanted to, do something great that season. So I changed my number to 37, mainly for Thriller, the number of weeks it was on number 1.
The other thing that you did was, and nobody knew it at the time, but you went in the studio and you recorded a track that nobody knew about, that didn't drop until after Game 7, 2010, within a few hours. What was the motivation behind that to go ahead and put it on wax like that?
Well, that was a funny moment because I did that record June 30th, 2009. And I kind of wanted to speak things into existence, and it was called Champion, and then we won the championship, and I put it out. And it was crazy because I would not have said that my album's coming out live, it just dawned on me like, oh wow, I did a song a year ago, and it's called Champions. And we bought the record, and it was kind of fun.
Well, look, that 2010 season was, you were saying you went from this feeling that nobody really wanted you to a champion under the leadership of Phil Jackson. And Perk, I know what you wanted to ask him about Phil.
Yeah, I do. Hey, so Meta, because to me, Phil Jackson is the greatest coach in NBA history, and I'm willing to debate that with anybody. I mean, 11 rings, and he's for us him. Like, people don't understand. In my opinion, it's harder to coach superstars and megastars than it is to coach a group of young guys or a group of like a team. But like, to manage egos of superstars that are not getting along and things like that, I thought Phil was like a mastermind at that, and I think he's the greatest coach of all time because he got 11 rings, the only coach that three-peated 3 times in NBA history. But I just, because I always wanted to play for Phil. He was so calm, and he was the only coach that he never really got up from his seat. He always sat down and, he did the famous whistle or whatever. I just wanted to know, like, y'all were down. It's really 2 questions. One, how did it feel playing for Phil Jackson?
Well, playing for Phil was amazing. I always idolized him as a kid. Like when I idolized, Michael Jordan and the Bulls. So playing for him, I was in my transition of therapy, lots of therapy, also transitioning into meditation. And then when I get with Phil, he embodies that, the Zen master. And I'm learning holistic approaches on therapy, really getting into it. And just having a teacher like that every single day, meditating, lights off, shoot arounds, breathing exercises, blocking out the noise, things like that. Sage going through the locker room. That was the biggest takeaway I have from Phil Jackson. And then even in the huddles, he was just so calm. Yeah, I got a lot of great stories about him, how calm he was in the huddles.
Yeah, today the conversation around mental health with athletes is a lot more accepted. It's a lot more common. You see the public service announcements that Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan do. But you were the first pro athlete I remember to come out and you thanked your therapist. Y'all won the championship. Were you scared at all about being open about that thing, or what was the thought process? And why, if you weren't scared, why did it wait that long to be public about it?
Well, I've been seeing therapists for a long time, since I was 13 years old, every year, right? So when you get into the NBA, you don't want to tell anyone you've seen therapists. And my family's on medication. Some people in my family's on medication. So I was really close to becoming taking medication from psychiatrists. There's a difference between psychiatrists and psychologists. So in 1999, I wasn't telling nobody that I was having issues. I was just going to see therapists. And the NBA, the Bulls was super involved in therapy, but they wasn't making it public because the media wasn't as sensitive to people that have issues. It was always, that guy's crazy, this girl's crazy. And you don't want that type of backlash. Now, if the media says that, people, fans, citizens, they come down hard on media. You got so much more support. So in 2005 and 6, when I was in Sacramento, I was actually already trying to talk about my story on YouTube, because YouTube was getting hot at that time, but I didn't really understand how to push content or whatever. So in 2010 was a perfect platform for me, to thank someone who's been so important to me. And I don't think I would have been that calm in the playoffs if it wasn't for her. In Game 6, we won. I got a little anxiety. I called her like 10 o'clock. She came the day before Game 7, and we met that morning of Game 7. And we talked. I was afraid to get ejected. I was afraid that I was going to react in a way that I don't want to, and I can be detrimental to the team. And all these thoughts is going through my mind because this is what happened every time I was in the playoffs. And then when we won, something I always wanted as a kid. I know, Perk, when you first won it must have been an amazing feeling. I mean, for me, it was just like, wow. I was just so excited that I was able to get my first ring. And I wanted to thank, the people that was there for me.
I mean, you really, as to Amin's point, you really started this movement to crack away at the stigma of mental health. And it does seem like 2010 was such a transformative year for you, not just on the basketball court, but personally. So, we want to dig a little bit more into your playoff run that year, which was extremely memorable. So let's get to it. The main attraction and the incredible impact you had on that finals run. Let's start with first the 2010 Western Conference Finals against the Suns. Let's check out your putback game winner from Game 5. Amin was in the front office with the Suns. That's what his reaction is for.
Yes, I'm loving every bit of this. Show it.
Yeah,
Show
series tied at 2, game tied at 101, and there's a putback. What do you remember about that play?
I remember playing really bad that game because I wasn't getting a lot of touches, but I was shooting a lot. I mean, I wasn't in rhythm, but I was shooting a lot and missing all my shots. And, I think I only had 2 points that game. I played 40 minutes, so I was being effective on other things, really effective. But I remember just being in the right place at the right time, just crash the boards every time, and we'll keep it really simple. And wow, it was a lucky shot. It wasn't like foam. It was just put it off the glass. And it was just such a surreal moment. My first game winner in the playoffs.
Somebody check Amin blood.
Amin, what do you remember about that shot?
So we came back. We were down double digits in the second half, and we had this huge comeback. And our whole game plan was we felt like there's going to be a point where Kobe doesn't trust his teammates anymore. Because when the Lakers ran the triangle, we couldn't stop them. They were just too good, especially with Powell and Lamar Odom as their two bigs. We just couldn't stop them. But anytime Kobe tried to be like, I'm going to win the day, that's where we had him right where we wanted him. And sure enough, we made this big comeback, and Kobe had a tough fourth quarter of that game. And so we come down, we tied the game up, timeout, and everybody in the huddle was like, he's not passing it. He's not passing it. Wherever he is, Grant's on, and whoever's closest, just crowd him. And you see in that play, we defended it so well that he didn't even draw a rim. It was an air ball. And Ron had just taken you remember this, you took a three-pointer maybe like a minute before that and missed badly, and there was a lot of time on the clock, and the crowd was going nuts because they felt the tension in the air, and we was like, we got him. And then Ron grabs that rebound, puts it back up. And I remember thinking that, like, when something like that happens, you look at the refs, you want them to say, oh, it came after the clock. You begging for something. Oh, he traveled, there's a foul, something. And you realize there's nothing. And you see them carry Ron on their shoulders, like, damn. We just lost that game.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. That's actually the second. I catch a lot of Kobe air balls. He don't make them all. He don't make them all. R.I.P. Kobe.
Hey, you're right though, Ron. Meta. R.I.P. to Kobe, but Kobe. This is a stat though. Kobe do lead the. He does have the most missed field goal attempts in NBA history.
I think that also speaks to how many he took, but there's that. Okay,
he missed a lot.
So Perk, I know you got some joy out of seeing Amin get down there with that conversation, but now we got to fast forward to the series that you were involved in, and it was a battle though. Meta, what was it like to scrap it out 7 games against those Celtics?
It was brutal. The score, 83-79 in the finals. That reminded me of the old Piston Indiana games I had, and I'm sure Perk had a lot of tough games in the East. It was one of the hardest series that I've ever was a part of. It reminded me of the Pistons, and the Pistons to get to the finals 2004. The score was 71-67, something like that, or maybe 69-65. Just that defense, it was just amazing.
Perk, what do you remember? I know you got hurt in Game 6, so you weren't able to participate in Game 7.
But here's the thing. I tell everyone this, and I'm not just saying this because we got Metta World Peace on Hoop Streams, blessing us with his presence, but he was the unsung hero for that Lakers team. And here's why. Paul Pierce was our go-to guy. Yes, Kevin Garnett was the best player on the team, and we already knew this, but when we needed buckets, the truth always came through for us. Ray was huge. He had a huge game one in that finals, I remember. I think we were setting screens. He had like 35 or whatever the case may be. But when we were down and we needed someone to go get us some buckets and run off about 5 or 6 buckets straight without someone setting the screen, Paul was that guy for us. He was that guy for us in 2008. He was that guy for us in 2009, although KG was hurt. And then all of a sudden, when the Lakers added Metta World Peace, I was like, man, Jesus Christ. Because I remember Paul, because seriously, I remember them battling out when I was young, like my second year in the league in Indiana. So like out of all the people I watched Paul go against, it was Metta World Peace that gave Paul trouble. Like every single time. I remember Doc used to, like in film session, he was like, Perk, what are you doing? Why you're not setting the screen on him right here? And I'm like, man, what are you talking about, man? I'm like, this dude is 265. He weigh the same weight as me. I am trying to get Paul open. And me and Doc had an argument. I'm like, won't you come in here and set a screen on? And I'm trying to set a screen. But to me, I thought that Metta World Peace was the unsung hero in that game 7. I thought like he was the only one that had like real good efficiency from the field. He had 20 points. He locked P up on the other end. But you know what I remember sitting out? We were up 14 points headed into the fourth quarter, and the Lakers walked us down, play after play, getting a stop, Fish hitting a big shot, Metta World Peace hitting a big shot, Cole getting rebounds. But the thing that stood out to me from watching on the sideline, like forget the game. The Lakers earned it. I couldn't take it, so I went to the locker room, and then Doc told the security, Lynchy, to go get me out. He needed me on the bench. So I just remember watching and looking around in the stands, and everyone was standing up. Like, this is game 7 of the NBA Finals. There's no tomorrow. Like, this is for all the marbles. And so I'm watching guys on the court. I'm watching KG, Metta World Peace, Kobe, Paul, Ray, and everyone is dead tired, but they're fighting through it. Like, I'm watching guys wrestle for rebounds. They're taking deep breaths. This is why the score was so low, because everybody was gassed out. But then the Lakers, of course, Metta World Peace.
Never tired. Never tired.
Took it to a whole nother level.
Well, you say he's the unsung hero, but I think when people look back at that game 7, they all remember the biggest shot in that game was by this man, Metta World Peace. And let's get to it. It was your 3-pointer late in the game.
Oh, that hurt. Oh.
With the shot clock winding down, you get a pass from Kobe. Metta, what do you remember about that?
I mean, man, you don't know what's going to happen with Bean. You just got to stay ready. With Kobe, you just in game 2, game 3 in Boston, I was feeling really good, but I only got 4 shots, right? So you can't pout. You just got to stay ready, and you just never know. And I wasn't thinking about if the shot was going to go in or the shot was going to miss. I was more just focusing on my breath, because I get a little bit of anxiety when you're not getting the ball as someone who was a former scorer and getting the ball a lot and going to the rack. But, the Lakers is a different situation. So, like that shot, I remember talking to my therapist about it and just relaxing and just staying in the moment, because it's so hard to stay in the moment. So, and when you look back at it after the game, then it really hits you. Oh my goodness, I had a shot, big shot. So it really hits after. Like I said, it's my only finals. I don't have 4 or 5. I only got 1. So that's a moment that I really cherish.
Well, post game, you said that Phil was telling you not to shoot that shot.
Well, I'm kind of stubborn. Like I never, I don't know. I figured that, I want to have fun. I got to shoot the ball. And even if I go 0 for 10, I'll go 0 for 15. I really don't care. That's why the fans in the Staples Center, sometimes they would boo. Because I kept shooting. I say, I'm not in rhythm, but I'm going to keep shooting. And sometimes it'll work out.
Sometimes you got to go against the grain.
I think it worked out. It was definitely, if he was telling you no, it was one of those no, 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 yes.
Yes.
Yes. And it was a huge shot. It was the shot to seal, your first NBA Finals, Kobe's final championship. And teammate.
Man, Kobe, towards the end of his career, he became more vulnerable. I had dinner with Kobe once because, me and Kobe he's kind of similar. We come to practice, we put out work in, go to the game, put out work in. Not a lot of talking, not a lot of friendship going on there. On the court, we respect each other. And I remember him always being serious, and I'm always serious too when it comes to practice. I'm putting in super work. So towards the end of our careers, we became vulnerable playing with the rookies. We never wanted to play games with rookies, those little 19-year-old kids playing all these crazy new games, and it was never about that. When we got older, I saw him chilling with the rookies, having fun with the rookies, mentoring, taking guys out to dinner and different things like that, just chilling, and it was good to see both sides of Kobe. Some other good memories is him getting out the gym in the morning at 8 a.m. in the car, fully showered, going home. Means he got there like 5:30. Stuff like that is really impressive. Really good brother, good mentor, even though he's 1 year older than me. He would pick up his phone when you needed advice because he was always involved in different things. And definitely miss it. It's really hard to believe sometimes. I feel like he's gonna walk through my doorstep sometimes. It really feels like that, but it just doesn't feel real. I thought it was a big game at first. Sometimes it feels like a big game.
Yeah, man, stuff. Metta, real quick, man. Congratulations on the Emmy nomination for your documentary. It was on Showtime. You guys haven't watched it. It's amazing. So shout out to that. I know my guy O worked on that. So
that's
real proud of you. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And I want to say, I always tell Perk, but Perk, keep it up, man. I'm like, from playing against Perk and then watching him on television. I remember watching him the first time, and then I kept updated. I love watching athlete commentators and journalists and stuff. It's really cool. And when Perk is doing television, in a year and a half, he just took it to another level. I just say keep taking it to the next level, man. Everything, the comments, the quotes, the topics, man, is right on point, man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. But look, Metta, I appreciate it. But look, this is where it all got started right here on Hoop Streams, baby. Tune in on Hoop Streams because we be cracking on Hoop Streams.
And look, this is one of my personal favorite episodes. Thank you so much for walking us through the 2010 NBA Finals and letting us relive those incredible moments. You can catch the 2009 and 2010 Finals clinching games tonight on ESPN at 7 Eastern. That'll do it for us. Thank you again, Metta World Peace, for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Next week we're gonna have a deeper dive into Perk's 2008 title run with the Celtics. So that's what's coming up next week. Thanks to everyone. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay home, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.